While you're rocking with us at Toxic Radio, don't forget to check us out on social media.
I want details, and I want them right now.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Now you're talking, brother.
Chat with us, keep up on news. Just don't make it weird. Don't be a stalker. Don't be that guy.
You just want to suck the joy out of everything.
Toxic Radio. Get infected. Hey guys, dating life gone pretty shitty?
I find you so creepy, I think you should have to walk around with a bell around your neck.
Finding yourself getting a little desperate for some female companionship?
Alexa, tell me you love me.
Hell no. You disgust me.
What you need is to upgrade your style right now. The Toxic Store's got exactly what you need. Pick up some stylish gear featuring Deviant Gamer, Toxic Radio, and the Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Oh, yeah!
You can find the store through the Toxic Radio app or toxicradio.net. Get in the game.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Get yourself a little love.
That guy's getting boobies. Yeah, he is.
Toxic Radio and the Toxic Store. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
The goal on this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire2Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire2Wire, live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Welcome to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, show 67. I am your host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. 6-0 this week, but I got to call it like it is. Everyone went 6-0 on the show. All three of us swept the board NFL wildcard weekend. To my right, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Shally.
What's going on?
And coming from us remote, hopefully he's unmuted, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cuttrell.
What's going on, everybody?
And you hear his voice. He's here. We got a big show to get into. It's very football-oriented. And then we got a little UFC drama afterwards. So we're going to get into our NFL awards. We got our all-pro list. We got to break down the wild card games. We got where the coaches are going. You want to know where these NFL coaches are going? Wire2Wire's got you. I'm going to tell you where they're all going. I got it. I'm going to go sweep the board. I won't, but I'm going to try.
That'd be a feat.
And then we got the all-pro list. We're going to talk about that, what we agree with, what we disagree with. I will say this. There was one all-pro in this wild card weekend that was like burnt toast out there. Brandon Ayuk was having his way with someone. I don't know who it was, but we'll get into it when we get into all-pro list. Let's, just like we did last week, let's start each game in order and what our thoughts were. Obviously, the big controversy in Cincinnati versus Oakland with the Whistlegate. They blew the whistle. We'll all get everyone's opinions. You know, it's funny. I haven't asked these guys their opinions on this yet. I have a strong opinion on it. I'm sure they'll both disagree, but we'll start with Shally. What did you think of Whistlegate? What did you think of Cincinnati versus the Raiders?
I mean, it's nothing like the NFL to start wild card weekend off with some horrible officiating. Who could ever have thought that was going to happen? Listen, I mean, it's one of those rules. I think. I mean, it's the first time in recent memory that I can remember even happening or even like being reminded of the rule. It's something that happens once every like decade, maybe. It's one. I think the problem with the Raiders had with it is the whistle definitely went, regardless of when it went. The rule is very cut and dry. You replay the down, so forth and so on. I don't think it changes the outcome of the game, only that if you take Cincinnati's touchdown off the board there, that's fine. I mean, granted, field goals aren't a given, but I mean, I don't think you can say with any definitive knowledge that they're not coming away with points for that drive. So they still win the football game.
Well, you don't know because the Raiders got stopped on 4th and goal on the 11. They just kick a field goal.
Again, I mean, it does. It changes the game, maybe that way. It's just really tough. I mean, I think they were pissed about it. I think they have a right to be pissed. I don't know why the ref blew the whistle, because when you watch the replay, he was nowhere near stepping out of bounds.
He had a big.
Yeah,
there was like a big, maybe 5-6 inch gap between his right foot and the sideline.
Right, and then before his left foot was even close to coming down, the ball was gone. So I mean, he was never going to be out of bounds. It's again, I mean, I guess they should have replayed it down. The rule is what it is. It's written that way. It's written that way so there is no ambiguity when you enforce it. Like if somebody inadvertently blows a whistle during the down, no matter the situation, you replay the down. I think the biggest grief is they obviously conferred about it because they had 2 different huddles about it. They knew what they did, and they still re-refereed the game.
I hate how they acted like it didn't happen.
Right. That I think that's the annoying part, and I think that's the major gripe with the Raiders. Like, you guys had 2 huddles. You've obviously acknowledged that you did it. You know you did it. Like, just replay the down. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. And then they not only do you blow the call and blow the whistle, then you don't replay it correctly either.
That's fair.
So, I mean, it's, again, I think Cincinnati was a better football team. I think the better football team won. I don't know. That's really no, anything to hang your hat on if you're a Raiders fan. But Cincinnati is a better football team. I think they win the game no matter what.
Control, what were your thoughts on Whistlegate?
So, I mean, my thoughts were somewhat similar. I mean, I do think obviously they botched the call, but my whole thing is that didn't change anything that happened in that game there. With the Bengals and, when they blew the whistle, it was, I think someone broke it down. It was like 0.2 milliseconds or whatever before Tyler Boyd caught that touchdown in the back of the end zone.
0.2 of a second.
Yeah, it was nuts. So that didn't stop.
It was 2.3. So it was 20.23 tenths of a second.
Yes. So that didn't change the dynamic of anything on that play. The Raiders, it wasn't like the Raiders DBs hurt and just stopped playing. They were beat. They were in a position where they shouldn't have been there and they got beat. So I understand letter of the law, everything like that. And you can't just go out there and make judgment calls, just because you feel like something should go a certain way. But honestly, as just a fan of football, I think that was the right thing to do. Say what you want, letter of the law, all that. I get it. Whistle shouldn't have been blown at all. I understand that it was. And my whole thing, though, is that whistle shouldn't have been blown, for one. And then 2, it changed nothing on the outcome of the play. So I'm all good with letting it stand. But these refs, they have to do a better job. And we've kind of seen the NFL is not too happy with that because they've already pulled them from the rest of the playoffs. So
yeah, so
it is what it is.
So Cottrell, I'm very shocked that no one gave me huge feedback on this, because I am on the side of that play was happening, and I think it would have been more of a travesty if they called the play back and made them replay the down than it would have been if it got handled the way it did. And because you could say what you want, but if you take that touchdown on the board, it's still third and 11 from the 12, 13-yard line. So the odds of them getting the first down or getting the touchdown were very low. They had already been stopped twice in the red zone for field goals. So more than likely they have to kick a field goal if they miss the 3rd and 11 the second time around. And in reality, and in my 2 cents, it would have been a travesty to take that touchdown away from Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That outcome of that play does not change. 2 tenths of a second does not change the outcome of the play. So, in my thoughts, I think that the officials obviously got it wrong. But with that being said, I think they got it right. Is that fair? Is that fair for me to say, they got it wrong, but they got it right?
My biggest thing with it is that, they definitely, there's no reason the whistle should have been blown. I think the one thing I would disagree with what Cottrell said is, you can't start letting referee crews decide when they're going to enforce a rule. That's a very slippery slope in my opinion.
I see the enforcers here.
That's a very slippery slope. If you admit that you screw up, that's fine. I think the screw up was bad when you compound it and then don't follow through with what should have happened. I actually think that's what got them canned for the rest of the playoffs.
You're probably right.
So I think if they go and make Cincinnati replay that down, I don't think they get in that much trouble. But the fact that they literally talked about it, decided they weren't going to enforce the rule the way it's supposed to be written in the rule book, I think that's what got them canned, because that gave the Raiders all the ammo they needed to argue that.
Could you imagine if they did enforce it?
Oh, listen, it's going to be a shit show either way.
Correct.
Because if you take that off, like you said, and then they kick a field goal, and then the Raiders kick a field goal, in the fourth quarter, they're to tie it, and they go to overtime and somehow win. Like Cincinnati would cry about that till the end of time.
Correct.
And they would have a decent argument for it. That's the only thing that was literally the only little snippet of what Cottrell said that I didn't agree with. I don't think you can start letting refs huddle and be like, hey, we blew that there, but let's go against the rules and do it the way we want to do it. That's anarchy to me.
Cottrell, counterpoint.
So I don't think that they handled it like that's not how they should have handled it. I'm just saying more in the sense that as a fan, I'm okay with them getting it wrong because it was the right way to do it. Like the Bengals deserved the touchdown. Like I said, it didn't change the outcome of the play, and Joe Burrow wasn't out of bounds. So that's why I was okay with it being ruled a touchdown on the field. Obviously, like I'm not for refs making judgment calls on the field and going what's in the rule book. I'm just saying, like, me personally, like as a fan, I'm okay with it because that was the correct outcome.
Okay, so I agree with you, Cottrell. I agree with you, Bill. You guys both make very solid points, and this is going to be an agreeable show so far. I mean, God, we all picked the same games, right? All right, let's get into the next game then, because the Bengals, we'll get into what they're previewing going forward, but the next game was a game where you expected it to be the third game, division rivalry. They split in the regular season. Both games were ultra thin, ultra close. This game, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills looked exactly how they were constructed going into the season.
This is where wild card weekend took a turn for the worse for competitive football games. Listen, that was, I mean, we talked about it in the chat. That was a team we thought we had for Buffalo at the beginning of the year. Like earlier in the year when they went in and they beat Kansas City, that was a team that we thought Buffalo was, and that's a team we thought Buffalo was going to be the entire year. And they had a really weird, middle third and beginning of the last third of the season. But that was impressive.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is it very similar to me? Is it similar? I know in the NFL it's different than the NBA. That a team being like, all right, we're gonna make the playoffs, and we're gonna really step on the Chiefs have done this now. The Buffalo Bills did it this year. Like the Milwaukee Bucks did last year. We'll be the 3 seed in the regular season. We used to be the world beaters, the 1 seed, and we used to play every regular season game like it was the fucking Super Bowl.
I'll give you this. I think there's some credence to it. There's definitely credence to it in, say, basketball, because you're not one and done. You have a series. So, like you said, like you get in a 3 seed, you'll be like, okay, like our path may be a little bit harder, but like we're just not going to lose a best of 7 series in these teams. Like we'll turn it on, we have to win. Football's a little different because you have one game.
And you're playing somebody else's house.
Correct. You go out and have a stinker game, or like your defense is a little bit off or whatever. Like you're going home and you're done for the year. As good as Buffalo is, and as good as I think we all think they can be, and again, they showed it, and we've seen glimpses of it. I don't know if they've earned that they're that good, that like, hey, we're just going to flip a switch and smash New England this week. Like, I don't think they're there yet. I think Kansas City can get away with it because of how high-powered that offense is, and also because they've won a Super Bowl. They've been there, done that.
Okay.
I don't think Buffalo, I mean, if that's what they're doing, God bless them, but I don't think Buffalo really has the the results to fall back on to risk playing that way.
I mean, Buffalo fucking dominated that.
Listen,
game.
They came out and they just absolutely boat raced New England. I don't think anybody would have predicted that. That is one of the few times in my life I've ever seen, like, Bill Belichick was talking to one of his coaches right before halftime, and he was literally just like, he looked lost. Like, he was just like, this is not what I thought was going to transpire, and this game's over. Like,
was it 7 straight drives that ended in a touchdown?
Was it that game? I think that was the game where it was the first playoff game ever that
they didn't punt.
Nobody punted. Yeah, nobody punted.
No.
Well, that Buffalo, like that one team, didn't punt.
It was every single drive that they had that wasn't a kneel down ended in a touchdown.
That's
so like besides the final drive.
So that's what it is.
Besides the final drive that they had where they kneeled the clock out, they scored a touchdown literally every possession that they had.
So they were 7 for the first 7.
That's absurd.
Or 6. Let's go 42?
47.
So we're 7 for 7. It's wild. Listen, I mean, that.
Yeah, they missed 2 extra points.
Yeah, so I mean, that's
the one downfall for Buffalo. That fucking kicker, man.
Well, I mean, listen.
It was 4 degrees.
That and
it's kicking a rock.
That and it's Buffalo in January. Like there
Can I ask you a wild question and control? I'll get your thoughts right after this. Just go right into it. But Josh Allen's arm strength versus Mac Jones's arm strength in that weather, throwing that rock of a football. How much did that matter? Because I've said it all year, and I will say it again. I just don't. And, listen, the data backs it up, what I'm telling you guys. Mac Jones's arm speed, the miles per hour on the football, is just less. Josh Allen's got the strongest arm in football, and he's throwing a rock.
But that's, I mean, you kind of said it there, though. Like, it's less. Like, he has the strongest arm in the league. So, like, you could say the same thing about every other quarterback in the league. Like, it's just not going to be as fast.
No, but I think Herbert, I think Mahomes.
The funny thing is, they talked about it because somebody made that point on game day, and they actually brought up Allen's record and stats in games that way, and he actually has a losing record.
It's wild.
It is wild. Listen. You said it on somebody else's post, and I'll stop talking so Chuck can go, but I don't think Mac Jones played bad.
Yeah, I said that in the group.
Yeah, I don't think he played bad at all. The one interception was incredible, and the other one was a tip ball. Like, I think if anybody, like, he's, in my opinion, he's the only one that really played well on that team on both sides of the ball.
I felt Nelson Aguilar that first. Now, granted, it was a great interception.
It really was. I mean, it was a great throw.
But he went to dive for the ball instead of attacking the football.
Yeah, I mean, if he high points it, I mean, there's a chance he comes down with it still.
At least it breaks up as an incompletion.
It does. But I mean, Pryor caught that, right?
Jordan Poyer.
Poyer. It was a great interception.
I like Pryor. Let's go with Pryor.
It's
I'm
fine.
kidding.
It's Michael Radford, Laverty's boy. He loves his wife.
Yeah.
But
you talk about his wife. Just kidding.
It was a great throw. I mean, it was coming down in the bucket, man. He just made an absolutely great play.
The best throw of the entire game was that Josh Allen looked like he was throwing out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
The Dawson Knox first touchdown. Yep. That was absurd. Hey, Charles, your thoughts on the game?
So, I mean, Buffalo just looked like a, well-oiled machine there, and I'm really, but without getting too much into it, I'm really looking forward to this rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. And the whole thing with Buffalo is that we talked about all year how before the year, that they really didn't have too much of a rushing attack outside of Josh Allen. In this game, they were able to, in the last couple of weeks as well, they've been able to run the ball effectively without it just being Josh Allen. So Josh Allen has some help back there in the backfield, and of course they got Diggs and Beasley, Knox, all those guys as well. On the other side, though, for the Patriots, I think their big thing is they got to go out and get Mac Jones some weapons. I mean, we talk about Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne's another guy on that team. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, but these guys aren't going to go up there and make these big time plays. The Patriots really need to get Mac Jones some help offensively so that. We already think, most of us at least, think that he's already limited. I think he's good in that system, but he's somewhat limited. Go get a guy that makes his job a little bit easier. The Patriots aren't used to having a, premier running back, anything like that. So go get him a receiver that can really help out and make his job a little bit easier.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It sounds like a first-round draft move for me. We got to get into the next game, Eagles-Bucks. Eagles looked exactly how I thought they would. I called it on the show. I said, I could write the script for what they should do. They didn't do it. They kept trying to run these bubble screens. Tampa Bay had 9 guys in the box. They were playing press coverage. They had one-on-one Devontae Smith, and they didn't throw him the ball to the second half. Dallas Goedert had 7 targets before Devontae Smith had 1. It was embarrassing. And, Jonathan Gannon, who's getting interviews for head coach, I don't know. The funniest thing that came out of this to me is if you've seen Eagles fans were commenting on the post for Jonathan Gannon interviewing for the Houston Texans head coaching job, it is one of the funniest things you'll ever look at. It's like, oh, Jonathan Gannon saves children in the street. Like they're talking, it's unbelievable. Like they're talking him up, like they want him out of here that bad. I blame that game on a lot of different things. Jalen Hurts played awful. Nick Sirianni's game plan was terrible. And Jonathan Gannon's defense did exactly what I thought they would do versus Tom Brady. And they played soft zone shell defense. Didn't want to get beat by the big play. And they got picked apart the entire football game. This was a whitewash. It was not a competitive football game, regardless of the 31-15 score that they made it look like it was a 2-score game. It wasn't. This was an awful football game. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it was as bad as New England got embarrassed, we got embarrassed just as badly. I guess the only saving grace for us was probably we didn't have as high hopes as New England, I guess. I don't know if people expected as much from us as they did from New England in that game, but
we weren't prime time Sunday night.
Putting that game Sunday 1:00 made them look like geniuses after that was all said and done. You cover all the big stuff. I think the defense didn't play well in the first half. I think they played better. Once they got to 17, there was a couple. I think Tampa Bay punted like 4 possessions in a row, and we just couldn't do anything. Our offense was a joke. I'll start at the top. Sirianni's game plan was terrible. I think the one thing, if you look at Tampa Bay's defense, is they have a good front four, and their linebackers, all 3 of them, are extremely fast. They cover ground like nobody's business. They get sideline to sideline just as well as anybody, if not the best in the league. And your game plan is to run sweeps, which is into their strength, or bubble screens, where you just let them run downhill and we can't get out there fast enough to block them. Our best player on our football team is Devonta Smith. And like you said, we don't target him in the second half.
Best non-offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
Our offensive line is the strength of that team. You have Mailata, Kelsey, and Lane Johnson. And with Landon Dickerson, I said this on Birds Deep, and I alluded to it here. I would have put Dillard out there too and had 6 offensive linemen, run a 2 tight end set, and ran bully ball up the middle of the fucking football field. I would have double teamed Haloti Ngata. Not Haloti Ngata. Jesus Christ. Vita Vea. So they were my player. But I would have double teamed him, and I would have ran the ball up the middle. I would have ran 6 offensive linemen with Dallas Goedert, essentially in a 2 tight end set, and I would have just 4 yards. I want to respond to Chris Hackney on the wire line real quick, and then Cottrell, I'll turn it to you. Birds are way ahead of schedule. Lots of picks, gain playoff experience.
Here we go.
Well, hold on. I want to respond to it real quick. 1, Chris, they didn't beat anyone good all year. They beat a bunch of dog shit teams. They were the only team in the playoffs that didn't beat a playoff team. 2, if you want to say they're ahead of schedule because they won 9 football games versus Garrett Gilbert and Gilbert Grape and all these fucking dumb Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, that's fine. You can say that. I don't agree with that. I think that they got exposed, and I think that what I came away from that game knowing, and you guys can call me a Hurts hater all you want. I haven't been all year. I've been very, very middle. And Cottrell, I'll ask your opinion. If I've been a Hurts hater, seriously, or have I been middle ground?
No, you haven't. You've given them a fair shake.
There's a Hurts hater on the show. It's
you.
It's me.
Yeah, but I've not been a Hurts hater all year. But I came away from that game just really believing he's not the guy.
He's not.
And I wanted to wait a year and a half. I wanted to see every possible thing I could see before the offseason hit. But I came away from that game saying, please give me Deshaun Watson. You have the best offensive line in football. You have time to step up in the pocket. You're not throwing the ball to Devontae Smith. and he's the best offensive weapon. You're absolutely correct, Bill. Absolutely correct.
Here's the problem with it. You saw microcosms of everything that he struggles with throughout that entire game. You go back to his scouting reports, you go back to what GM said about him. The one thing they all said about him is he doesn't see it fast enough. You saw it all day long Sunday. He has one read. If he doesn't like it or doesn't look great to him, he's gone. He doesn't go through progressions. His ball placement, his ball accuracy stinks. There were throws there that he made Sunday that if he throws, if they're on target, if they're on the actual body of the receiver, we probably have catches. He's constantly throwing the ball 3 feet behind people coming over the middle. That's how you get people killed. It's literally how you get people killed. And his arm strength is a problem. You can say what you want, man. If you were drafting Devonta Smith and probably taking another kid this year and you have a quarterback that cannot push the ball down the field, it's a problem.
Yeah. And teams are defending us that way now.
They are now because they know. They know it's not.
They're playing single high safety.
Yeah.
You have some of the fastest wide receivers.
What happens if you play single high safety against Patrick Mahomes all game long, or Tom Brady, or Allen? They're going to destroy you. They will destroy you. They're going to make that safety make a decision every goddamn play, and then sometimes they'll throw it underneath him, and you're gonna get big chunk plays. And then as soon as he starts, he's tired of getting whipped like a mule. He's going to come up, and they're going to blow the top off you, and they're going to score. We don't have a guy that can do that. If you don't like it, if you don't like the honesty about it, sorry. There are people so dug in, just like Howie Roseman, that need Jalen Hurts to be the guy because of what happened here before him. Can you say, hindsight, you were maybe right about Carson? Maybe. It's leaning that way. But it doesn't make you right about Jalen on the flip side.
You're absolutely correct. You can, like, Carson can be not good, and Jalen can be not good in the same sense.
Correct.
Control.
Both things can be true. And if you want to look any further, look at the interception he threw at the goal line. He couldn't throw that ball on the run because he couldn't get there. He had to plant and try to throw a line drive, which gave their safety time to run halfway across the field and jump in front of him.
Devontae Smith's cornerback fell down to play.
Look at Devontae Smith's reaction.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Like he knows. Listen.
And that's his guy from Alabama. He was pissed.
There's nobody tighter.
Yeah.
I'll say this and I'll say it again. As good as Chase is, Devontae
just as good.
Is just
Maybe
as
not
good.
just as good, but close.
He's a little bit different type of wide receiver, but he's special.
I agree.
You saw it on 2-point conversion. That catch was insanity.
I agree. You could tell he's ahead of the class as far as everybody else on that offense. Control, from an outsider's perspective, what's your thoughts?
So I kind of agree, and I kind of think some of it is unwarranted criticism. So my thing with the Eagles this postseason was, it was obvious that they hadn't beaten a good team all year. It was obvious that, Jalen Hurts did not play a good game by any stretch of the imagination. Like he had a bad game. The other thing that you guys mentioned, but you kind of got to put more into perspective, is that a lot of it, at least the beginning of the game, a lot of it was horrible play calling. You got a guy who's throwing screens out there, and they're running the ball sparingly, throwing screens, just throwing short stuff where it's just things that can't get a quarterback into a rhythm. And I understand it on both sides, because if you're Jalen, you're saying, well, how am I supposed to be good, and I can't even air the ball out? Like I can't throw timing routes. Like nothing's getting schemed to be open. We're just throwing these dump off screens. And on the other side, if you're Sirianni, you're saying, well, I got this limited quarterback. The Bucs have a really good rushing defense. They're playing us this certain way. With my limited quarterback, I want to try to put him in the best possible situation to be successful. And it just really didn't work. So I'm not saying that I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a franchise quarterback by any means. I'm not saying he's a top 20 quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. But you also got to look at who else was out there on the field with him. Dallas Goedert. As good as Dallas Goedert is, in the past, 5-6 weeks, he's had some drops that really had you look at him like, you're this Pro Bowl tight end. Like, we need you to have more reliable hands. Jalen Reagor couldn't catch a punt if his life depended on it. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if after preseason and camp and everything, if he's not on the roster next year. I think one of the only ways he's on the roster, if one, he gets better, or two, Howie just keeps him on the roster just to kind of save face, like, hey, my number one I don't want that, media publicity that the number one pick that I had 2 years ago is now a free agent. And, I completely whiffed on that pick. Although we all know it. We all know that the Jalen Reagor pick was a miss. So you got Devonta Smith, who can't get the ball. And a lot of that is on Jalen. A lot of that to me, though, is also on Sirianni. If I know Smith is my best player, I'm scheming plays to get the ball in his hands to go out there and make a play. So I think a lot of it is on Jalen, but it's also on Sirianni. And obviously you got to have your head coach and your quarterback on the same page. So I think that you have some upside. Obviously, the O-line is the strength of the team, and you have a really good rushing attack. So there's positives to come away from this season, but you got to figure out that whole mesh. Like if Jalen's not your guy, I get it, move on, whatever. But you also got to think about who you're putting out on the field with him. If Devonta Smith's your only weapon, you got Dallas too, but if Devonta Smith's your only weapon and you're throwing out there Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins, you got to kind of put that in perspective as well.
Cottrell, you couldn't listen, there's so many valid and very strong points you gave. The only counterpoint I will give you is Troy Aikman pointed out perfectly on the broadcast. Quez Watkins had a deep post and he was wide open, and it was an anticipatory throw that Jalen Hurts just did not throw.
Boom.
He just didn't see the field accurately. He just didn't, and he said it was schemed that way. It worked out perfectly, and he just didn't make the throw. He didn't throw it to him. So I don't necessarily think the weapons are as bad as people think they are. You have Dallas Goedert, who's a top 10, probably top 5 tight end in the league. You have Devontae Smith, who could be special. And you got Quez Watkins, who's a speedster. With Miles Sanders and Howard and that offensive line, I don't think they're bottom 5 in weapons in the league. I just think that
that was the one thing I wanted to respond to Cottrell. If you go wide receivers, running backs, offensive line, and quarterback, who is the weakest part there?
Wide receivers or quarterback. It's close.
It's close, but wide receivers are going to get better. Wide receivers also dictated.
I think the quarterback could get better too. I don't think that either Sirianni's scheme or him specifically, I just don't see him he'll never be a Justin Herbert. He'll never be a Joe Burrow. No. He'll never be a guy that can sling the ball around the yard.
He's going to be a fringe top
What's his ceiling?
Guy. That's
Tyrod Taylor? I'm not trying to be smart.
No, you're not. We said this from the get-go. That's what I mean. Everybody wants to argue and tell me he's going to be this, he's going to be that. Listen, you've seen 20 games now. He is what he's going to be. He's not terrible, but he's going to be very limited, and he's going to dictate how you have to run your offense.
I think Jalen Hurts would be a great guy to be, and this is going to sound terrible. People are going to hate me for this, but I think Jalen Hurts would be a great backup quarterback in the NFL to come in and
Why can't he Taysom Hill?
Yeah, he could do that. I think he's better than Taysom Hill in every different way.
He's definitely a better athlete.
Yeah,
but why? That is ideal for him.
I agree.
My whole thing though with Jalen too is that you talk about the weapons that he has, and I'm not saying that he has bad weapons. Like Dallas Goedert, like you said, top 10, arguably top 5 tight end. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm 100% on board with you there. Like I said, there's just certain plays that you go to him for reliability, and I don't know if it's just Jalen being I don't know if it affects him mentally, with him being young or what, but you throw the ball at Dallas Goedert and you see certain drops. Like, what was it? The Giants game or the Cowboys game?
This game. He had the worst drop I've ever seen this game.
He had the worst drop I've ever seen this game.
Ironically,
there was another game
the best ball Hurts through all day. That was the interception off the foot. What game was that?
That was Dallas. No, not Dallas. That was Washington or New York.
Yeah. But listen, it's you're 100% right with that. Goddard's got to be more consistent with catching the football. He's a great blocking tight end, but
But you know what's crazy about tight ends in the league? You know who led the league in drops this year?
No.
Travis Kelce.
That's funny.
But a lot of tight ends are that. They're strong, bulky, they throw people around, and they have a lot of drop balls.
Listen,
I'm not
and if you're
not excusing it, they're not receivers for a reason.
If you're lucky to get one of the athletic ones that can run, a Goddard, a Kelce, a Kittle, Mark Andrews, that's why they're so valuable, and that's why there's only like 7 of them in the league. But again, you brought up Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins had two besides the post, he had 2 other deep in routes that he was wide open, and and Jalen just missed them both times. Both were first
threw it
downs.
late.
Threw it late, either saw it late, threw it
Inside.
behind them. Yeah, like the one pick, like it's just it is
The
what
ball
it
he
is,
threw
man.
inside did Devontae Smith on third down. The Devontae Smith broke up a pick. Should have been a second pick.
Yep.
But, or third pick, sorry. But we got to move on. We're spending a lot of time. I know it's the Eagles game.
I knew that was going to happen.
All right, so the game of the day, and the game I enjoyed more than any game this entire weekend was 49ers Cowboys.
Cowboys going to Cowboy.
I enjoyed it so much for a lot of reasons. It's really funny laughing at Dallas making really stupid mistakes. I'll get into that in a minute. But it seemed like another Cowboys playoff game. They let a team get up big on them. They fought back, and then they made a bonehead play at the end of the game to lose it. Like, that, to me, feels like their MO at this point.
Here's the crazy thing. It's if Jimmy G puts that throw on target or even just doesn't overthrow him as bad as he does, and they don't get that pick, none of that stuff at the end even matters because they're just smoked and out of the game. Like, it's over. Like, they don't even get there. They don't even get in that position to make that play. They were just outclassed from the get-go. I mean, listen, as depressed as I was about the Eagles, that happening right after it made the weekend so much better because I knew I was going to listen to Dallas fans all weekend.
100% did. The one thing, and Control, you were about to comment. Let me just stop. You've literally been as patient as hell. Why don't you start with this game?
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I had to go back to our message thread because we were all texting during the game, and I forgot at what point it happened. But I said they're not gonna win because it's Dallas. But my goodness, it seemed like San Francisco was just trying every way possible to make sure that Dallas had a shot in this game. But you just knew that Dallas was going to find some way to mess it up, and of course they did. And the whole thing with Dallas, like their offense obviously was struggling and they couldn't get it together, but then they finally found a rhythm, whatever, towards the end. The one thing that I know you guys are going to bring up as well that I'm so critical on is in that situation, you have 14 seconds left. You run the QB draw. As much as I don't agree with running that at all or, whatever, my whole thing is that somehow, some way, in practice, whether you guys talked about it beforehand, whatever, Dak has to know in that moment that, all right, I can go 10 yards. At 10 yards, I have to slide, and we got to get up. We got to clock it so we have one shot at the end zone. You cannot go out there and run 20 yards and just think that you have enough time. And then for Dak, of course, not to know that the official has touched the ball before you get it going. Like, it was so Dallas that it was unbelievable, and I could tell that Jerry Jones obviously was angry about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we started to hear little whispers about McCarthy's job being in jeopardy. I don't think he gets fired or anything like that this year, but I'm sure we're going to start to hear the whispers about McCarthy being on the hot seat.
So, Cottrell, you've mentioned 3 of the points that I was 100% on. One of them, I want to get back to the 49ers for a minute. Let's start with the way they started the game. For 3 quarters, they looked like the 49ers that they should. Kyle Shanahan looked good. The team looked good. They were moving the ball. They were scheming people open. Brandon Ayuk had Trevon Diggs on skates twice. One, Jimmy Garoppolo missed him on, but the other one was he was burnt toast. But the thing that stood out to me was San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan will never, ever, ever. Kyle Shanahan will always be a choke artist. He will always be a choke artist. You have that situation where you get the ball and you're in Dallas territory and they run that quarterback sneak and Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't allow Trent Williams to get set when they're shifting the line. And it was the right call. Like, I don't care what anybody says. That was the right call. He didn't get set. Yeah, they played so scared. Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball. He almost threw 2 picks. The one where they almost called a fumble, I think it was on Kittle, where he picked up off the ground and it was a fumble. They got away with that one. And then the other one where he overthrew the wide receiver on a crossing pattern, which is an easy first down that was Dallas's interception. Jimmy Garoppolo got really tight, and I look at that as a reflection of his head coach. The play calling got tight, the game got tight, and I think it was embarrassing the way San Francisco played. With that being said, you had bigger choke artists on the other side of the football field. Dallas, Jesus Christ, man. Number one, CeeDee Lamb had single coverage for 87% of his routes. Do you guys realize how stupid that is? You have a first-round draft pick with that much talent, and he had single coverage on him for 87% of his routes. That is embarrassing. What was he finished with? 3 catches for the whole game? CeeDee Lamb.
I don't know if he even had 3, did he?
He might not have. I'm going.
I know he had the one big one called back.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Keep talking.
I'll go into that, but I think CeeDee Lamb had like just 3 catches. That's literally off memory. But Dallas, and then they run that play.
He had 1 catch.
1 catch the whole game. He
One
must
catch
have had a couple called back. How many targets?
He only had 5.
5 targets the whole game.
Yeah.
And 87% of his routes he was single covered.
Yeah.
It's a joke. And then I'll get into the fourth down, or not the fourth down, the quarterback draw play that they ran with 14 seconds left. Dak made 3 boneheaded mistakes on that play. First, you got to understand the time and the situation. You got to slide with 10 seconds left. Second, they tried spotting the ball themselves without giving it to an official. The official's busting his ass. And third, once he realized the official needed to touch the ball, they gave him no clear path to the ball. The offensive lineman basically blocked him. He dove over the offensive lineman, set it a yard. If you really watch that replay where Dak starts his slide, they still spotted that ball a yard and a half forward from where his slide was. A yard and a half forward from where his slide was. They literally they tried everything they could to get Dallas that play. Didn't give the ball to the official. Tried to spot it themselves. Awful play call. Dallas being Dallas. Bill?
No, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, the funny part was I was driving home for the beginning of that game. And I remember when I got home and the first text I saw in our group chat was Cottrell's saying Cowboys are going to Cowboy. And I knew right then that what was already happening. I couldn't wait to get inside and start watching the game. I don't know what you say, man. I mean, this is what they do. This was their year. They had all their weapons. They had everybody under contract. They drafted Micah Parsons, who's just been an absolute, just like superstar. They traded back to get him. Next year it starts getting hard. Dakota, his contract goes into effect. He's making upwards of $40 million next year. There's going to be cap casualties on that team next year.
Yeah, they're already talking about it.
Yeah,
Zeke, I don't think Zeke's on that team.
Dude. Zeke's not the best running back on that roster anymore.
I agree.
He's done. Offensive line is going to be another year older. They already can't stay healthy. I mean, listen, it is. You look at certain teams, and I'm going to tell you 3 things. There's only 2 quarterbacks in the league right now that make upwards of $40 million. Dak will be the 3rd one next year. They're Aaron Rodgers and they're Patrick Mahomes. Those guys can lose a weapon or 2 and still perform because of how good they are.
Yeah,
Dak can't.
I agree.
Dak's not that guy. Dak,
you're not that guy.
Not that guy.
And you? I'm that guy.
It is gonna be very interesting. They did what they did. They were outplayed. Listen, I think
we all seen it coming too.
We did.
All 3 of us picked San Fran outright.
It's one of those things where I think a lot of things you said about the Eagles you could say for Dallas. They damn near played the same schedule. They won a terrible division, and they won it by 2 games. I know they have 12 wins, 3 games. But they don't play well when it matters. Take from that what you will, but it's just the truth. That group of players that's there right now, especially the veterans that have been through this a couple times, they don't play well in big games. I mean,
and Dak Prescott's an average quarterback. I'm so sick of him.
I said that.
Or above average is average.
Again, it's another example.
Yep.
I don't care what he does in garbage time or when they're down by 20 points and then he ends up throwing for 320 yards and they're like, oh, look at his stats. Cool. What are his stats when it matters? When they need him to step up and make a play or make a big throw, what are his numbers? They're not good. They're not good at all.
I agree. For the sake of time, the next 2 games were both whitewashes. The Chiefs destroyed the Steelers.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
The Rams destroyed the Cardinals. Just give me one key takeaway from both games, or one game, either one. And I'm sure we'll all touch on it because we're going to talk about the previews for next games. We got a lot to get into, guys.
I think Kansas City with Pittsburgh was pretty much what we thought it was going to be. Kansas City started a little bit slow. Offense started rolling. That was a wrap. That is what it was going to be. It's looking like it's Ben's last game. So, I mean, at least he made the playoffs and went out that way. The other
Ben
game
was a good guy. I would care. Fuck him.
Nah, I mean, I get it.
Spot on.
The second game, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I thought it was gonna be a closer game than that.
I got a shit-eating grin.
About what?
About that game, the Arizona-LA game.
Well, I think you can put a question mark squarely above both their heads. So they have more questions than answers.
Well,
right
guess
now
what? The quarterback's not going nowhere.
Well, quarterback didn't play well.
Quarterback played awful.
Looked like dog shit.
He played awful. Kyler Murray played like shit. And guess what? I don't care. I love Kyler Murray, and I'm a Kyler Murray fan, but I do not care that he played like shit because I want Arizona to see the writing on the wall and get that man a head coach that will help develop him. He is not a leader right now. I think you can develop into a leader, but I don't think Kyler Murray's a leader. And I've been one of the biggest Kyler advocates ever. He is not a leader. He is not a great teammate, and it could never be more evident in these past few weeks. He shows his teammates up. His body language is dog shit. His coach gives him free reins because he knows he's his lottery ticket. Listen, I'm starting to dislike Kyler, and that bothers me because I like Kyler.
I think Kyler has more holes in his game than a lot of people thought, me including.
I don't think it's holes. I think it's lack of leadership. I bet you if you put Jalen Hurts'
leadership doesn't make him make those throws, bro.
Yeah, I get you. Oh, I'm a big, obviously.
I will agree with you. Cliff is obviously going to get the axe before Kyler Murray.
And their game plan for that game was fucking terrible. Well, terrible. Kyler played bad, but that game plan was awful.
They're kind of going hand in hand. They're kind of going hand in hand now. It's neither one of them. He didn't coach a good game after Hopkins got hurt, and Kyler didn't have a good game after Hopkins got hurt.
I don't want to hear about Hopkins getting hurt. Hopkins is great, and obviously they went hand in hand. But he has plenty of weapons. I don't want to hear.
Oh, I'm not giving an excuse.
Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Rondell Moore, Zach Ertz. They got him an extra weapon. He doesn't need all those fucking weapons.
I'm not giving an excuse to either one of them.
Yeah.
But I just I find that ironic. I mean they
Petey, I love you.
What do you say?
Petey said he's closer to Jalen Hurts than he is to Russell Wilson.
He's not wrong.
I love that comment.
He's not wrong.
It's a funny comment.
It's hysterical. I mean, it's good stuff from Petey. But thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing up this week again, by the way, bud.
I think it's funny just considering how well we thought Kyler was going to be coming into this year and how well he looked at the beginning of the year. Like week 4 when they went in LA and beat the Rams, it was like, whoa, Kyler. Is he at
through 6 weeks? He was the
MVP rankings. Yeah. So just to see how that all just got away from him so fast, like the train derailed from the track. So, I mean, that was kind of my big takeaway from that game was that Kyler might not be the superstar that I thought he was, at least not yet. Of course, Cliff coached a bad game as well. On the other side, it was like, the Rams I don't know which Rams team is going to come to play week in and week out. Like if that Rams team comes to play, they might go to the Super Bowl. But next week, who knows what Matt Stafford we see, what Rams team as a whole that we see. So that was kind of my big takeaway from that game. If the Rams play like that, I think they have a good shot at going to the Super Bowl.
Whoa. We'll get into that. We got our preview to get into.
Of course. But on the other side with the Chiefs and Steelers game, that game somewhat went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought the Chiefs were going to get up big. I thought the Steelers might have a little bit more rally at a certain point, but, they just didn't have it in them. End of the game, they almost scored the garbage time touchdown to make it a 14-point game. But that Chiefs team is just, it is what it is. They have it clicking now on all cylinders. Travis Kelce's animal, of course. Tyreek Hill, he's got another week to get ready for going up against Buffalo. Hopefully he can be a little bit healthier, but that Chiefs team, they got it clicking on all cylinders right now. So
we'll get into it.
Who knows? Sky's the limit with them.
That's the game.
Oh, God.
Guys, let's get into awards. So we'll go around the horn. And some of these are easy, so we can kind of knock out.
Some of these we should blow through.
Like defensive rookie of the year. It's Micah Parsons, and if you say anything besides him, you should be thrown off the show.
Agreed.
No
So if I
issues there?
said Patrick Surtain, you'd be
Yes.
okay.
I mean, he's probably second.
I got Micah Parsons, but I was just wondering.
I was being really worried. I thought he really had Patrick Surtain.
I feel like you really might. No, I just don't want to say it.
That's fine. Offensive rookie of the year. It was a 2-dog race for a while. I think Jamar Chase pulled away.
I think the win game at Buffalo killed Mac because it was pretty much just a wasted game for him. Because at that time, that's when Chase was going through his not really doing anything at all, and then he closed the season with the 2 absolute monster games. It's Jamar Chase. That went down to the end though.
It did, but Jamar Chase is the clear winner there now.
Oh, I agree.
I do think he's the clear winner as well, and I didn't think it should have been that close to begin with. Mac Jones was having the best year of the rookie quarterbacks, but I think he was having a great year to begin with. When you're a rookie wide receiver and you go over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, I think it's clear that you should be the rookie of the year.
Would I be an asshole if I had Mac Jones 5th?
Yeah.
Depending on who you have ahead of him.
Jalen Waddle, the center for Kansas City. I forget his fucking name.
Creed Humphrey,
that's it. And I had it written down earlier. It's Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Creed Humphrey, and
you putting a center in front of him makes you an asshole.
Yeah.
Creed
Humphrey could have been an all-pro center.
I would entertain the argument of Waddle.
The other one was Najee Harris. That was it.
I'm not doing that either.
Slight plug. I told you guys about Creed Humphrey draft show last year. That was my boy.
You did. You were solid. Creed Humphrey, Jamar Chase.
You know who else you stood up for that hasn't worked out though?
Yeah,
who's that?
Leatherwood.
Yep.
Alex Leatherwood. I knew exactly where he's going with this.
I didn't say he was going to be. I didn't say he was going to be good. I said that he was going to be a top 20 pick.
I just don't think Mac was special this year, and in my opinion, I think he was 5th. I think Najee Harris had a better season. Jalen Waddle definitely had a better season. Jamar Chase had a better season, and Creed Humphrey could have been an all-pro center. If it wasn't for Jason Kelsey, he was the all-pro. He's second-team all-pro. Am I correct, Creed Humphrey?
I believe so.
Yeah. What are we talking about? I get it. It's a center. He's a center, so it doesn't matter. But that's where I have him. What do you want to get into next? You want to go offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, or coach of the year?
I think offense is easy too.
Offensive player. Well, I have Cooper Kupp.
So do I. It was
I
a race.
also have Cooper Kupp.
It was a 2-horse race.
It was. And then Taylor threw the dud in Jacksonville, and that was the end of that.
He runs for 150 a game. It's a conversation.
Agreed.
And they win the game. They go to the playoffs.
He averaged 2.2 yards a carry.
Yeah, I agree. So we all have Cooper Kupp for offensive player of the year.
I think he led in every category, right? Receptions, yards, on touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why he's
for
not
me.
higher.
I thought it was. I wouldn't say it was a 2-horse race. I thought Deebo Samuel was also someone in the race. I mean, he had 1,400 yards receiving, and then he was putting in work in the Russian attack as well. So I thought Deebo was somewhat close, but I do have Cooper Kupp as my offensive player of the year.
I got news I'll get into this in a minute because we're going to talk about with all pro. I will make a very valiant argument about Deebo Samuel. Okay? I'll get into that. But when we get into, I disagree with that. But please bring that point up because I have that point ready for all pro list. Defensive player of the year, I'm sure we're all going to argue on this one because mine is not the traditional one. The guy that's going to win the award is not who I picked. The guy who I picked is the most dominant, disruptive player in the league. He's the best defensive player in the league. I don't care how many seasons in a row you have to give him the fucking award. Aaron Donald is the defensive player of the year. He is double teamed and triple teamed, almost double. 67% of snaps he's double teamed, and that doesn't include the 13% of snaps he's triple teamed. I'm sorry, it's Aaron Donald. TJ Watt broke the sack record, 17 games. I get it, he missed 2. He deserves all the credit in the world. Aaron Donald's a better player. Aaron Donald is more disruptive. Aaron Donald has a bigger impact. Aaron Donald is the better defensive player. I'm sorry.
We got into this. I forgot what we were talking about, but it's not about who the better player is. It's about, the more deserving player who had the better year. While I do think that Aaron Donald had a great year, he always has a great year, and that him being double teamed is huge. I'm going with T.J. Watt for this one, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. It was like in games that the Steelers did not win a regular season game that T.J. Watt didn't play. So he was that valuable for them. I don't think that's any coincidence. He missed a handful of games this regular season, and it's no coincidence that the 9 games that he played, they got wins in all of them. He was very disruptive. I mean, we even saw it against the game in the playoff game against Kansas City. So he scooped the fumble, took it to the house, scored a touchdown. Like literally when you need him to make a play, he's there to make a play. I hate seeing that guy twice a year, but TJ Watt for me is Defensive Player of the Year.
Can I tell you something real quick? And I hate this is gonna come off such a I like TJ Watt. I don't want to be a hater of him. I don't think he was the best defensive player in his division. I think that guy's on your team. Just my opinion. Listen, sacks are a statistic. What would you be? Would you think I'm nuts if I told you he was 37th in the league out of all edge rushers against stopping the run? I understand that's not.
He's an outside linebacker, so it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, edge rusher. Outside linebacker, edge rusher.
I know, but
this boils down.
It's different. Of course, the DNs are going to have better stats against the run just because they're bigger and they just.
You're right.
Naturally, it's going to be more for them. Like when you're a 3-4 outside linebacker and you're a pass rusher, like that is your primary job. Of course, they want you to help in the run game, but they got you in the game to pin your ears back and get after the quarterback. So it's slightly different for the two.
It's fair. That's fair. Who you got, Bill?
I have TJ Watt.
Okay.
I agree with 98% of what you said. Like if I had to draft 2 of them, I'm taking Aaron Donald.
I'm taking Myles Garrett over him. I am.
Miles is one of the,
I would too.
He has all those. He has every tool, every physical trait in the world that you would ever want. It just with anything with him, it's consistency and staying healthy. I agree. I would say 8 weeks into the year, I would have picked Myles Garrett over TJ. Then he got a little bit banged up, and then he didn't play well down the stretch. It's just
Chris Cargan said Diggs. What Diggs are we talking about? You're not talking about the one.
Stop. We'll get into that in a second. Stop. We're not doing that.
We're not. What?
Stop.
Okay.
So I'm going with TJ. I agree with most of what you said, and my explanation is not going to be any better because Cottrell literally hit on every single thing I was going to say.
That's fair.
So it's TJ Watt for me.
Okay. Coach of the year.
I have Mike Rabel.
I have Mike Rabel.
I also have Mike Vrabel.
And I'll tell you why. The argument against is Matt LaFleur. Am I wrong?
I mean, if you're going by odds or anything else, I mean that's who everybody's picking to pick
Not
second.
odds. Who would you have second? I have Matt LaFleur second.
You have LaFleur. I mean,
Belichick would be up there for me. I probably wouldn't have him too, but
Belichick's up there. I hate to say Shanahan, but he's probably up there.
What?
Kyle Shanahan.
No. Zach Taylor's higher than Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion.
I wouldn't argue that.
But my argument for Rabel is, and same thing with LaFleur, they're both 1 seeds in both conferences. And do you know they're number 1 and number 3 in injuries? Now, the Ravens were 2, but they're number 1 and number 3 in injuries in the league. Like stars missed games. And they're both 1 seeds in each conference.
Green Bay's playing with 4 backup linemen, so that doesn't surprise me that they're that low and that high, I should say, with injuries. But
I think, obviously losing your lineman it can be devastating. I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl last year. Having Aaron Rodgers helps. Having Devontae Adams helps. Having all the weapons they have helps. I mean, he has Ryan Tannehill, loses the best running back in football, and then didn't have either one of his receivers the majority of the year. I think 1 game's defensively, which is wild because their defense is not that good.
Well,
it is.
Kevin Byard's played out his fucking mind this year.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dante, called that shit.
So it's I think it's Mike Vrabel. I don't think it's close. I'm not buying into the Matt LaFleur stuff there.
Okay.
At all.
So we all have Mike Vrabel for Coach of the Year. So we got 2 players left. We got 2 things. We have comeback player of the year. I have Joe Burrow.
It better be Joe Burrow. I swear to God, if they gave it to Dak Prescott, I swear to God.
I also have Joe Burrow.
And I think that Joe Burrow is the answer. And then the MVP is Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. You said yeah?
Aaron Rodgers.
Did you say yeah?
You act like I say he's a bad football player.
No,
I've never said anything about him on the field. I think he's an absolute egomaniac, terrible teammate away from the field, and I think he's full of shit. He's a good quarterback, though.
I just like having you admit that Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable player in the league.
I've never said he's not a good quarterback.
All right, so
I think it's funny because
I literally argued to the contrary. Like, he is that good. Like, that's why I'm tired of like hearing like everybody stick up for him. Like, he needs this, he needs that. No, he's the best goddamn quarterback in the league. Like, debatably, like everybody's got to like as soon as like he loses, 9 excuses for Aaron Rodgers. That's the shit I can't stand.
Okay, so
he's a great quarterback.
I am going to name the teams that do not have coaches right now, and you're going to tell me who do you think goes there.
Okay,
is that fair?
Sure.
You ready for that, Control?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to start with let's start with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think that's where you're going to start. I think Byron Leftwich goes home. I think it's a great spot for him. He's an offensive guy, obviously, and I think he's good for Trevor Lawrence. I think you pretty much got to wipe the slate clean from this year. That just the debacle that was the Jacksonville football team. So I think Byron Leftwich goes home, homecoming. I think they're a better football team next year.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars' next head coach is Byron Leftwich also. And I agree with you 100%, so I won't argue that much.
Yeah, I'm going with Byron Leftwich as well. I said it 5 weeks ago, and I'm sticking behind it.
I think that we need to play the "I'm coming home."
Dante, why don't you want Byron?
We'll
yeah,
respond
no,
to that in a minute.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just wanted to message in.
Denver Broncos. I have an interesting take on this. I think I'll go first. I think Nathaniel Hackett is their next head coach because I think that they're going to use him to lure Aaron Rodgers. I think that that's the play. I think that's the smart move. I think that's exactly how it goes down.
I think that's a mistake on 2 different fronts. I don't think he has any business being a head coach. He's the offensive coordinator for a team where he doesn't call the plays.
I agree.
The quarterback and the head coach, though. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I was right coming into the season, and I'll be right after this season. Aaron Rodgers is not leaving Green Bay. Telling you that right now. He's going to stay there. They're going to franchise tag Devontae Adams. He's not going to opt out and ask them to trade him. He's going to stay there. So they're going to hire some lame duck, dumbass coach for no reason that's going to be stuck there with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Good luck.
Who do you got, Control?
I got the man, Eric Bieniemy, finally landing a head coaching job. I think he does it in Denver. I think they finally want an offensive-minded coach to come there and turn the tide around. And
not the same division, bro.
Let him get a quarterback.
See, Bieniemy is who I kind of think goes there. That is the thing that's holding me back. I don't know if he'll go there and go against Andy.
Nope.
But I 100% agree with.
I think he gets a
job.
I have him
he can get a job
with.
I have him on my list.
He can get a job.
I do agree with Cottrell. They 100% have to go offense. But again, that team is set up to win now. They need to get a goddamn quarterback, and until they do, we're going to keep going through these. They're going to keep just chewing through coaches. You are not winning anything with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Like, you need to get a quarterback. You could have got one last year. Patrick Surtain, to his credit, had a very, very nice year as a rookie. The kid is legit. They need a quarterback.
Okay. So next one on the list is Miami.
By
the way, who you have down in Denver?
It's kind of Bieniemy. It's kind of where I'm stuck.
Okay, I disagree.
I feel like if he doesn't go, that's probably the reason he doesn't go.
It's division. See, the funny thing is, I went right to Miami because that's where I have Eric Bieniemy going.
I think the reason I think he goes is what Cottrell. I think he's to the point now. If somebody does offer him, I think he's got to go. I think Denver will try to make that play with him being a division guy. I do.
Okay.
Miami. I think Todd Bowles goes to Miami.
Todd Bowles. Okay. What do you think?
Doug Peterson.
You have Doug Peterson going to the Dolphins?
No shot.
Dolphins.
I don't see. That's fine. We all have opinions. So then we'll go that since you've done this, I'll do it again. Minnesota. I'll go first. I have Doug Peterson.
Agreed.
I think that's exactly where he goes.
It means we're going to agree on the other one then.
We might.
In
Yeah.
that division,
think-
yes.
Yeah.
We have the same line of thinking then on that.
I think that the Vikings go with Kellen Moore as their next head coach. I think they want to get the young offensive-minded guy to get Jefferson and Thielen and all those guys creative ways to get them the ball, but I think Kellen Moore is going to be the guy.
This isn't Dallas hate. What has he done?
He's only had one of the top 10 offensive lines, top 10 running back, top
He
10
is
receiving core,
the
and top
best
10
offense on paper the last 2 years, and has done shit.
Yeah.
Why is he a head coach? And now he's going to Minnesota with Kirk Cousins?
The whole thing though of that is that every team at this point, they're trying to find the next McVay. Like they're trying to find the next young head coach, like offensive mind. And I'm not saying Kellen Moore is that, but I'm just saying like he fits that mold of this offensive guy who is young. And so I think he's going to get a head coaching job.
He's Jason Garrett Light. What he is.
I don't disagree with you.
And I'll tell you why Dougie's not going to Miami, because he's not dealing with Tua. It's one of the reasons he left here, because he didn't want to deal with the Carson Jalen Hurts thing. He didn't want to play Jalen Hurts.
They really don't have a quarterback situation.
He's not.
Yeah, they have no controversy though.
No, they just don't have a quarterback.
Okay. The Houston Texans.
Oh, God.
I know who's going there already. I can write it down for you. I'll put it on. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I want it to be Jonathan Gannon, but it won't be. It's going to be Gerard Mayo.
That is mine too, Gene.
It's looking like
Gerard Mayo. That's who I got.
The guy there now is the guy from the Patriots. So I mean, there's all those connections back to there.
All they do is hire ex-Patriots.
I mean, it's not the worst thing they want to do. I think they think if they bring Gerard, well, anything they do is bad. But I think if they believe if they bring Gerard Mayo in, that he's going to be able to keep Watson there. And I don't think people understand that ship has just sailed. It has nothing to do with who's coaching
it's the owner.
Correct. He does not ever want to win a football game again for that guy, and I don't blame him.
Okay, so we have 3 left. Well, I'm going to go over the Raiders first. What do you guys got for the Raiders?
I think he stays. I think he gets another year.
Cottrell?
I got Jim Harbaugh.
Ain't happening.
Yeah, that's Cottrell sent me that report before. I like Bisaccia staying there. I think that it's an absolute travesty if they don't keep him and the team went to bat for him. And
Agreed.
Did you hear about what he did? I will actively root against the Raiders. Did you hear about the handwritten letters that he wrote every single football player? He went to the hotel room after they had lost the playoff game. Went to the hotel room and hand wrote every single letter, thank you letters to every single player on the team.
Yeah, they're going to go to bat for a guy like that, dude.
Bro, that guy, I love that guy.
I think with everybody going to Mark Davis, and again, I think if they do give it to him, I think it's a very short deal.
I don't care.
No, I
give
agree.
him a shot.
No, I agree. I think he gets. I think.
And guess what? If he wins 11 games, it'll be a long deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he gets a year to prove himself, and that's why I think you're not hearing anything really concrete about Harbaugh, because they haven't offered it to him yet, and I don't think they're going to.
I got 2 left, and I left the Giants because they're huge, and the Bears because it's a huge job. I'm going to go with the Giants first. I'll go first. I have 2 candidates. I'm really trying to name her down. I have Brian Dable, and I have Josh McDaniels. I actually am leaning towards Josh. They love to go to that New England coaching tree. They just did it with Joe Judge. But I wouldn't be shocked if it was Brian Dable. I think they're getting a coach out of the AFC East.
I'm actually the opposite of you. I'm leaning Brian Dable.
That's fair.
Josh already failed once in Denver. I don't know if he wants the job. Again, that's a job if you're going into, you're dealing with Daniel Jones right off the bat. It's just a tough situation to go into. I think McDaniels could really just sit pat and wait till next year's cycle to find something better. So I lean a little bit towards Dable for that reason.
Control?
For me, I'm going with Dan Quinn. I think they want someone to utilize.
I would be fine with that.
A defensive mind to to
I would be fine with that.
Lead that Giants defense. So
Dan Quinn's not a good head
Dan
coach.
Quinn.
No, but if I don't think he would do the same thing he did in Atlanta. I think he would literally just be hands on with the defense and then find a coordinator. And if they bring their defense already isn't that bad. I don't need that to be like another excruciating game.
And then the last one, I have my favorite head coach that's available, Brian Flores, going to the Chicago Bears.
That's who I have as well.
And I actually think he's going to walk in there. He's going to get a quarterback that he likes. He's going to get an offensive coordinator that he likes. And I think that the Chicago Bears are going to be the class of the NFC North the next 10 years. Hold on.
I don't agree with that.
For Bears fans, let me just say this to you guys at home. Let me just get the
David Hernandez.
My boy Hendo Gracie. I think Brian Flores is your next head coach. I think after Brian Flores goes there, he's going to hire a stout offensive coordinator, a good offensive mind. I think he has the quarterback that he wants in Justin Fields. I think that the Chicago Bears are for the next 10 years, they will run the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers will not be there. He's either leaving this year or next year. If he stays another year, he's older. I don't know how much more time he has. The Lions are an absolute joke. The Vikings, you don't have a quarterback. I think the Bears are going to roll that division kind of like the early 2000 Philadelphia Eagles with Donovan McNabb. Give me the Chicago Bears next 10 years.
I think Flores goes to Chicago as well. I think the dark horse for that job for me is Dan Quinn, though. But I agree. I think it's going to be Flores. And I think once Rodgers leaves, then I do think you'll have Justin Fields 2 or 3 years into his career at that point. That is going to be a big difference. So I do think they'll be the best team in the league. Or that division, sorry.
Control.
I also have Brian Flores going there. Obviously, last week I told you guys I thought it was awful that he got released from the Dolphins. I do think he gets another job. And I think, honestly, the Bears might have the most attractive job of all the openings. I mean, I think it's between them and Minnesota, especially with all the uncertainty around Aaron Rodgers in that NFC North division. So I like Flores to go to the Bears. And honestly, I think that I'm with you, Gene. I'm not going to say the next 10 years, but I think they're going to run that division for the time being, at least for the next 5 or so.
They got to get weapons, though.
We have to call an audible. It's just 9:40. And we can't do the All-Pro list. We'll do the All-Pro list next week. Save your comments for that. We'll get into it next week. We have to call an audible. We got to break down 4 more games, and we got UFC. We only got 20 minutes left, guys.
That's fine.
All right. So let's get into the 4 games that we have to break down this week. I am so confident in a few of these games, and then we'll get into pick 'em, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. But which game do you want to start with, Cottrell?
Let's start with the creme de la creme, if you will.
Oh, you want to start with Bills Chiefs? This is the only game I have no clue. None.
I won't be surprised. Like, literally, there's a million ways I could see each.
I know the winner of this game.
Each team winning that game.
Everyone watching at home.
Yeah. Is that the primetime game on Saturday or Sunday?
It is the Sunday 6:30.
Okay, so
eating dinner,
yep,
watching football.
Ratings that'll be through the roof.
Yep.
So, I mean, the thing I am praying for is that we get Buffalo from last week and Kansas City from last week. That is, if both of those teams show up, this will be a great game. It'll be just as good as it'll probably be better than the game when they played earlier this year. I now believe with Buffalo winning that game earlier this year, there's not that mystique about going into Arrowhead and winning. They've already done it. I think it gives a little bit of an advantage knowing they can go in and do it again. I honest to God, I think whoever's defense plays better in that game is probably who wins, because I think both offenses are going to do their thing. If Buffalo can establish a run again with Singletary and run the ball, maybe keep the ball out of Patrick's hands a little bit, I think that's an advantage for them as well. And Buffalo's defense has been real good the last 3 weeks. That secondary, we saw it against New England with, the highlight interception, but just the way they're playing, they're ball hawking right now. If you're ranking all 4 sides of the ball, I think Kansas City's defense is by far the weakest of the 4.
I disagree.
All right. That's I think it's gonna be a great football game. I'm super excited to watch it.
I think you're giving way too much credit to the Buffalo defense. I think the Kansas City defense might be better right now. The last 10 weeks of the season, that Kansas City defense has been unbelievable. Yes, they started off terrible. They fixed the holes. They've done a lot better job on the defensive side of the ball. I think if you have Tre'Davious White, maybe it's different with Buffalo, but I think that the holes that was in that Buffalo defense are still there. They're not like they're world beaters on the defensive side of the ball. Because it's in Kansas City, I almost will agree with PD's score, but 95% of the public's on the over. I hate that. So I'm going to go a little bit lower scoring, and I'll go 28-24, which will be barely under. Chiefs. Barely.
I like that. I think that I do think the Chiefs win this game. I think it's going to come down to what defense makes that play. And, Gene, I'm actually on board with you. I think that when the Bills defense is fully healthy, the Bills have the better defense. But right now, I think the Chiefs are playing better football on the defensive side. So I like the Chiefs to hold off Josh Allen and his, heroic, last drive of the game win. And I think we see the Chiefs back in the AFC Championship game. And, I'm not gonna go into Patrick Mahomes' legacy or anything like that, but it'll be his fourth straight time getting to the AFC Championship game. And I think it just piles on to what he is and how special he is. And I think that this Chiefs team with Kelsey, with Hill, especially with Tre'Davious White being out, I think they're just going to be too much for the Buffalo team to handle. So I do like the Chiefs to win this one. I think it's going to be a one-score game. Probably go 27-23.
Okay. Bill, your pick on the game?
31-27 Bills.
I like it. Ed, I love the fact that he put 31-27 Bills too.
Did he?
Yeah. I love that you picked the Bills. It wouldn't be the upset of the week unless no other underdogs won. And that's because that's how close this game is. Let's stay in the AFC. Cincinnati versus Tennessee. I feel very confident in this game. I know who's going to win it. I have the outcome. I've already watched it.
The trendy pick here is Cincinnati. Coming off that win against the Raiders, their first playoff win. I want to pick them. I do. But Tennessee just has won all year. They're finally healthy. Derrick Henry's going to play. He's going to be on a snap count, but he's going to play. And I think there was aspects of the Raiders game where Cincinnati struggled, and Tennessee's better in those aspects. I think Tennessee wins a very, very close football game.
I wanted to make one comment. I forgot to make it. Everybody keeps bringing it up. That Diggs picture and the standing there watching the Chiefs win the AFC Championship last year where he stood there on the field is the most overrated fucking picture I've ever seen in my life. Stop doing that for moments, guys, standing on the field and having, I'm going to stand on here and watch the other team celebrate to show how much I care about winning. Sorry, I just needed to say it out loud.
I disagree with all that, but I'll go 26-23 Tennessee.
Okay. So you have the Bengals covering then. Foreshadowing. Cottrell?
I disagree with that as well. I do think that there's more that goes into it than just like taking it for pictures. I think it was the cool thing to do after Diggs did it. But quick shout out, Kobe Bryant was the first one to do it. He did it against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl 2 years ago. So, but as far as this game goes, I am going with the Titans in this one. I think Derrick Henry coming back is going to really give that Titans team the momentum that they need to have. And I think he's going to be effective. It's going to be, to me, I think it's going to be similar to what we saw in the Vikings Steelers game when Dalvin Cook came back after 2 weeks and we thought he was going to be gone for 6 weeks or whatever. And he went out and had 200 yards. Now, that's not for me to say that I think that Derrick Henry's going to have 200 plus yards, but I think he's going to go for 120, 130 and have one or two touchdowns in that game. I think the Titans are really going to control the pace in that one. And I think it was very important for the Titans to have that bye week because it gave guys like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones an extra week to get a little bit more recovery and get ready for this game. So I do like the Titans to win this one. Score-wise, I can't quite say yet, but I'm rolling with the Titans to win it.
What quarter does Julio pull his hamstring in?
Well, I'm very interested to hear you say that.
Because I just knew it was going to be funny for you. I'm a giver.
I think the Titans roll. I think the Titans roll. 31-14.
Like roll tide roll or just
roll?
Roll?
I think the Titans are going to dominate this game. I do not think it'll be close. I think it'll be over. I think this will be the most lopsided game of the weekend.
Wow.
I think the Titans dominate the Bengals this weekend. I think that they'll host the AFC Championship game, and it will be one for the ages, whether it's the Bills with the missed quarterback sneak by Josh Allen or it's the Chiefs again. Titans roll.
I don't know if it was Petey that said it, but someone mentioned it in a comment. They said the winner of the Bills Chief games goes to the Super Bowl, and I think that's very interesting. If the Titans win, though, I'm 100% with you, Gene. I think that's just a bloodbath to go against the winner of that Chiefs.
I don't think it's automatic like that either.
No.
You're gonna go to Tennessee again. Not an easy place to play. It's cold there. I mean, Music's Serum Miracle. Like everybody remembers that game. And you're gonna get Derrick Henry another week healthier with his sea legs kind of under him. Is not a guy you want to tackle when it's 10 degrees. Thank you.
Yeah,
no.
I don't think it's a rollover game either.
I'll foreshadow too. I think the Titans roll in this game. Next game on the docket, the Green Bay Packers at home versus the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to be up front. I'm not picking this game, and the reason I'm not picking it is because I hate when 75 to 80% of the public is on one side, and it seems so easy. I write a line out, and you guys know I do this. I talk to you guys about this all the time, of what the spread should be on a game. I don't think I've ever been this far off. I wrote this down and said the game should have been Packers -9 or 9.5, and when it opened up, Packers -3.5.
I was just like, are you not picking this because you don't like the line, or just because you don't know who you think's going to win? Because
I think the Packers are going to win.
Okay, I think it's the easiest game to pick outcome wise for me for the week.
I think Packers win the game.
Agreed.
And if I did a teaser where Packers money line, I would do that. But there's no way the Packers don't win the game. I just don't know how they're going to cover. San Fran's going to cover.
San Fran's banged up too. I mean,
super banged up. I just don't get why the spread's where it's at.
There's no way Warner's
at 6 now.
It's at 6.
Yeah, but it started at 3.5. So what you're telling me is Green Bay's a half a point better on a neutral field than San Fran, and Green Bay's on a bye week? The fuck out of here. How do you get, what logic? Why did that line open up at 3.5?
And you have to go to Green Bay. I mean,
so the 3 points for home field.
Right.
So you're telling me Green Bay's a half a point better than San Fran? I hated that line. When I seen that line, I'm like, oh shit. And it got bet up to 6, which is 2.5 point spring for a playoff game, which is absurd. But I'm not betting that. I'm not picking this game because I don't understand.
The only reason I could even fathom is they know. I mean, listen, people in Vegas have insider information all the time. I mean, that could scream to me that they know Bosa's not coming back. He's not going to get cleared. But I think it's too early for that. But even if he does play, he's not 100%. Warner's not going to be 100%. I think Green Bay just got too much. I like Green Bay. I like Green Bay to win by 10.
I have my upset special. Yeah, good try.
I was gonna say I'm rolling with the Pack in this one. Go Pack, go! I think Aaron Rodgers and those guys. I do think that they roll. I think they cover that 6. The reason though why I'm not surprised that it opened up a little bit tighter is that earlier this year the Niners and the Packers played, and it came down to Aaron Rodgers leading the drive to get the Packers, in field goal range, and Mason Crosby kicked the game winner, and they only won by 2 points. It was 30-28. So I'm not too surprised that it opened up that way just because they did play previously. But at the same time, it's kind of what have you done for me lately? Like you said, the Niners at this point, they're banged up and the Packers are coming off of a bye. So yes, I do think that the Packers obviously, have the advantage in that aspect. But because the two teams played earlier, I think Vegas was kind of trying to cover both ends there just because, the Niners were so close to beating them in the regular season. But for me in this game, I think it comes down to the Niners secondary. As good as they've played down the stretch the past 5 to 6 weeks, I really think they have a tough time covering those Packers receivers. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he's a different animal than what Dak is. He's going to find those guys, and Matt LaFleur is going to find ways to scheme those guys open. So I like to Pack to roll in this one. I think they win by 14 or so. I'm going to go 38-24.
Okay.
That's the understatement of the year.
What?
That Dak is not Aaron Rodgers.
I'll get into my upset special. My upset special, and I'm very confident in this one too. I love the Rams I love the Rams in this one over the Buccaneers. I think it's a terrible spot for the Bucs. I think so we made a comment earlier about the Eagles and the Cowboys' strength of schedule. The Philadelphia Eagles had the 32nd ranked strength of schedule in the NFL. The Cowboys 31st. The 30th ranked strength of schedule in the NFL was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think they were 29. I think Atlanta was 30th.
Okay, 29-30.
Just wants to be accurate.
Okay, so let me start again. I think we foreshadowed this earlier. The Philadelphia Eagles had the worst strength of schedule in the NFL. The Cowboys, second worst. The Atlanta Falcons had the third easiest schedule in the league, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the fourth easiest schedule in the league. Missing Godwin, no Antonio Brown. Leonard Fournette's obviously still hurt because he didn't play fully in the game. Ronald Jones is out. I don't know in which way. You're not playing against Philadelphia this week. You're playing against a Rams team that is Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. Cam Akers looked incredible. I think the Rams roll in this one, and I think the GOAT goes home early and a home game, 31-20 Rams.
This is the game I'm not picking. I think it's about as good a spot as you can get to face Tom Brady in a divisional round with what they have going on. I think they intentionally held Leonard Fournette out last week because I honestly believe in the back of their minds that they didn't think they needed him to beat us. And people don't want to hear that, but I'm just telling you it's the goddamn truth. I think if this was last week and they were playing the Rams, I think Leonard Fournette would have played. You're going to get Leonard Fournette this week. Cam Akers did look great. Don't think you're going to run the ball against Tampa Bay that way. But that being said, I mean, they're not dealing with our defensive line this week. They're going to be facing Aaron Donald and company. He will get to Tom Brady at some point. The big factor key to this game for me is Matthew Stafford. Do we get Matthew Stafford from last week, or do we get Matthew Stafford from like the last 3 weeks of the year where he's throwing pick sixes and crazy passes all over? Tampa Bay's defense, if there was anything that was scary from last week, it was their defense with their healthy linebackers back. That is a scary group. I just don't think LA is going to be able to run the ball real effective against Tampa Bay. But to your point, you have OBJ, you have Kupp, you have Higbee, you have all those guys. I think they'll be able to move the ball. I think Matthew Stafford has to have a very good game for them to win. If he has an average game, I think Tampa Bay wins that game.
So, Cottrell, your thoughts?
I am on board with you as well. I am taking the Rams in this one. I think the one key piece that kind of slipped through the cracks there is that, yes, you guys mentioned all the injuries that Tampa Bay has, but the one injury that I think could be the most critical one is Tristan Wirfs. His ankle not being healthy, and depending on if he's out there or not out there, I think that's going to be the biggest factor in the game for me, because Tampa Bay, their backup right tackle, was also having some issues. Brian Jensen, their center, was also, in and out of the game last week against the Eagles as well. I think he plays for sure. But the whole thing with Tristan Wirfs, I think that, Von Miller coming off of the edge there, I think he's going to abuse anyone that is there. Tristan Wirfs is not 100%. We saw he couldn't plant on that ankle. I think Von Miller is going to have a field day coming off the edge and getting after Tom Brady. The Eagles had a lot of success getting pressure on Tom Brady. Granted, the game didn't go in their favor, but the one thing that did for sure go in their favor, their defensive line was getting after the quarterback. I think it's going to be the same deal with the Rams, and I think that Rams offense can put up points on that Tampa Bay defense. So I got the Rams winning this one 28-20.
I'm glad Ed Conroy caught himself. He kept saying, Eckler. How do you guys keep forgetting Eckler? He plays on the Chargers. That's why we're not talking about
it. Eddie.
I love it. But I'll go with my picks really quick. I have Rams +3. Obviously, I'm very big on the Rams. I have the Titans -3.5. I might take an alternate line. Titans -6.5. Let's go even further. Let's get more juice. And I got the under 47.5 in the Packers versus 49ers game. They're my 3 picks this week. I love all 3 of them. I think All three of them hit. I think I go 3-0 on these three picks. I might lay a serious amount of money on all of them. They're my picks. Control.
So my picks are, I also like an under, but I like the under in the Titans-Bengals games. It's at 47. I think that one is going to be a little bit lower scoring. I like the Rams +3, obviously for all the reasons that we just named here. And then I got a Gene special for you guys. I like the Chiefs money line is my third pick.
You could easily do that. It's 1.5. I follow 100%. Bill?
Doing freaking money lines. I'm doing a money line now. I got Buffalo Bills money line. I got I have Green Bay to cover. What the hell's the other game? Oh, and I got Cincinnati to cover. I think Tennessee wins the game though.
Okay. That's our picks. Let's get into UFC, and then we'll do You Gotta Be Kidding Me, and then we'll get out of here. And hopefully they won't throw us out of the studio.
Throw nobody out.
Guys, you guys can talk about the first fight. I'm so concerned with the main event. I know they're both going to be good fights, but like I am so floored that Francis Ngannou is an underdog in this fight versus Cyril Gane.
I think the Moreno Figueretto fight's probably the better fight.
It will be. That's fine. But I am so excited for like the battle of the beasts. So let's get to Moreno Figueretto. Give me your quick breakdown of it. Who do you think wins?
Trilogy fight. After the way the second one ended, I don't think Figueretto really ever factored that into his game plan. I think he's going to this time. I think it's going to take away from his stand-up a little bit. They're both so good. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno to retain. I just think I'm picking it for no other reason. I just think it's his time. I think he's a big time rising star within the UFC. I'm very curious to see how the fan issue is going to be there. I don't know how many people are letting in, with it being in Southern California. I don't think they have any restrictions. I think you might have a decent amount of a Mexican fan base there. He's going to be a crossover star. I'm going with him. I think he wins. I think this fight goes all 5 rounds. I think he wins by decision. I think he retains.
Okay, so I'm the exact opposite. I'm going with the underdog. I think Figueredo wins the fight. I think it goes to the decision. I think he wins the fight 4 rounds to 1. I think that he has a much different game plan than the last fight. I think he won the first fight, even though they called it a draw. So I'm going to go Figueredo to respond with the win. Control?
Gene, I don't know if this is good or not, but I'm still agreeing with you some more here. I got Figueredo as well. I like the underdog in this one too. Just like you guys, though, I do think it goes to decision. I don't think it's 4-1. I think it's going to be 3-2, but I think those championship rounds is really what's going to put Figueredo over the edge. I actually think going into the championship rounds, Figueredo is going to be down 2-1 to Moreno. I think Moreno is going to have more in the tank. And like you said, Bill, I do think that he is going to have the crowd behind him just because of where they're going to be at. But I think Figueredo has more in the tank. And I think once it gets those championship rounds, Figueredo's going to dig deep, and he's just going to have a little bit more to get him that 3-2 decision win.
So the reason I don't have it 3-2, and the reason I'll never have it 3-2, even though if it lands 3-2, you're right, I don't like championships changing on like very close decisions. I hate it.
I don't either.
Hate it. I feel like you should take the belt from them. But that's just my opinion on it. So we all have, me and you have Figueredo. Shawcross has Moreno. He has the favorite. Let's get into the main event. I cannot wait. Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou. You have the fast, elusive heavyweight that's been dominating, that everyone's falling in love with, and Cyril Gane. You have the guy that hits harder than a semi-truck in Francis Ngannou. I can't wait to watch this fight. I'm so excited to see how it plays out because I don't see Francis getting stopped. And it's just so weird. Like maybe he gets flurried, stopped. But like in my head, I love the underdog in this fight, which is insane that Francis Ngannou is the underdog. But I got Francis by knockout. I think Francis catches him early second round, clips him across the chin, and Cyril Gane goes night-night.
I think the whole I feel very strongly about this. I think if Gane could somehow get out of the first 10 minutes of that fight, get out of the second round, then I think he's going to win. I think he's going to run away and win.
Fair.
Can you do that? Can you have Ngannou stalking you for 10 minutes and not get caught?
I don't think a baby gorilla could get out 10 minutes with Ngannou.
That is a tall task. It's such a weird thing for me to like think he's going to run around for 10 minutes. You have to have some kind of offense. So at some point, you're going to have to sit in the pocket with him and at least exchange. Because if not, he's literally just going to walk him down and throw bombs. Like, that's what's going to happen. And if he does catch you, I don't care who you are, like, you're going to get hurt. I will also, I think this becomes a very bad spot for Dana with what's going on behind the scenes with him. It's the only thing I'm worrisome of. That's distracting him from what's going on. His camp has already come out and said that if he retains Saturday, he is not fighting another fight on this deal until it gets reworked. That is a big problem to have for your heavyweight champion of your company.
It's fair.
That being said, I agree with you. Ngannou second round, head bludgeoning, and that's what we're going with.
Control.
So I am also on board here. I like Francis Ngannou to win this fight by knockout. I think it happens in the third round, though. The one thing that I think kind of drags this fight out a little bit longer is that I think there's going to be times where Ciryl Gane is going to try and get really close to Ngannou and not have him be able to, cock back and hit him with the right hand. So I think we're going to see a lot of clinch work, and I think Gane might even try and take this fight to the ground. But my thinking is that from Francis Ngannou in that last fight against Stipe, I saw that he really improved his takedown defense. So I think he's going to have a lot of success defending the takedown against Ciryl Gane. It is going to be a more interesting fight because Gane and Francis, of course, Francis is huge, but Gane is, no slouch. Like, you're going to see those guys in there, and Gane is the one guy in that division who looks like he's just as big as Francis Ngannou. So I think that'll be interesting to see how Francis kind of counteracts that. But I think Francis catches him and he's going to put him to sleep. And we're going to be looking at and still when it's all said and done.
That point is what frightens me about this fight.
What?
As good as Stipe is as a grappler and as a wrestler, Ngannou's just a bigger human being. Like,
Ngannou's a bigger human being than Gane too.
I get it, but the gap between him and those two is way smaller than it was between him and Stipe. I think Gane has a strength to put him down. If he gets him down early, I feel like this is going to turn into like an old GSP fight. It's gonna be lay and pray. Like he's just going to try to wear him out on the ground and just tire him out.
Just because they're both 6'4", there's like a 15 to 20 pound difference in weight.
Okay, but Stipe is really tall and thin. I'm just saying.
Sure.
I'm saying strength wise, not taking anything. I'm a huge Stipe guy. Gane's just a stronger human being than Stipe is. He just is. Yeah. Again, I think Ngannou wins, but that early takedowns is. I just don't want this to turn into a dud of a fight.
I just think people underestimate the difference that Francis made in his cardio.
Oh, he's dramatically better. Dramatically better. But having a big,
especially before the Stipe fight, when you could just tell they're they've seen how hard he trained, how much he trained, how different he changed his cardio stance up. And when they fought, the whole world, Stipe was the GOAT of heavyweights, and he got in the ring and he was an underdog versus Ngannou, and Ngannou killed him. I like Francis. I think he's an absolute monster, and I think he goes on the fight. What's the boxer? Tyson Fury, in outside the UFC. I think that they're gonna have a boxing match with UFC gloves. I really think that's gonna happen. I swear to you. You heard it here first.
He would hurt Tyson. That was the case. If they do it with UFC gloves.
They're doing a box. That's what Tyson proposed, a boxing match with UFC gloves. So they can't kick, they can't take down. It's just a boxing match.
That's interesting. Do we verify if Hardy's fighting, or is he off the card?
I think he's off the card.
Yeah, well, good. Scumbag. Too bad.
Okay, so let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Cottrell?
You want me to go first?
Of course I do. Because you're so amazing.
So my You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week, somewhat close to home. I'm going with Malik McDowell. There was a situation where he went back home to Florida, and he had an incident where he walked into a place and he was naked, and he fought a security officer that was there. It was a police officer that was there. The issue with, obviously there's a huge issue with that on the surface. The bigger issue is that he's had a more troubled past. He has some run-ins with the law after being a second round pick. And so, especially knowing that it took you 4 years from being a second round pick. He got drafted in 2017. It took you 4 years before you could even see the field. Now, the situation to me on the surface seems like there may be some other factors involved, but I'm not giving you that out yet. You know, if it comes out that, you know, there was some other factors involved, then sure, you know, I'll hear you out. But you, as a player and just as a man in general, you got to be smarter than that. You have to know that you are on one of your last chances. It's not every day that, you know, NFL defensive tackles, they come, you know, they don't come a dime a dozen, and you can easily be replaced. And it's so sad because you had a productive year, even after having 4 years off. You know, you were the best defensive tackle that we had on the team. And so for you to go back home to Florida and, you know, pull some stuff like that, it's really disappointing. And now I don't know if you're going to be in the league anymore. So for that, Malik McDowell.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Did they release him yet?
No, they have not.
It's kind of telling in its own right, to be honest.
I think it's a lot.
Probably waiting for more details.
Mental health, but I get it.
Mental health, drugs, just it's not going to be a good mix. All right, so for me this week, I guess I owe people an apology. Last week, I told you the 2022 Boner of the Year Awards was going to be a lock for Brandon Staley. I could be wrong. This week, I'm going to go Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott said, hold my beer. So if you watch the goddamn game, to the point earlier, I think it's crazy that teams have literally run the situation. They say it's a minimum if everything goes perfectly, 14 seconds to get the ball spotted, spike a ball, blah blah blah. There's 18 seconds left in the game. Dak apparently was only supposed to run 8 yards. Got through the line, was like, I'm out of here, and kept running. Eventually slid down. Center picked up the ball, kept it away from the umpire. The umpire almost freaking ran Dak through the center's ass. It cost him the game. It is the funniest way I've ever seen a playoff game end in my life. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. Then have the audacity to go to your post-game press conference and blame the referees was just childish and embarrassing. You've both issued apologies, especially since Dak said it was okay that people were throwing stuff at the referees because you're an idiot. But anyway, so it's with great pride. I don't like having egg on my face. I declared Brandon Staley the winner last week. We now have 2 solid nominees at least for the end of the year. But whenever it comes to Dallas screwing up and making asses of themselves, I'm all for it. So I'll take the egg in the face this week for me. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
So we didn't talk about this before the show. Mine was Dak Prescott also, but for a different reason. But I'll get into. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys fans instead of Dak Prescott. But I'll get into the whole situation. So after the football game, the Dallas Cowboys and they made it very clear they were upset that they didn't get another play. I think the referees did everything they could do. The guy was running like a 4.40 down the middle of the field. The offensive lineman gave no space for him. He tried setting the ball. He set the ball a yard and a half after where he slid. So they tried moving the ball up like 2-3 yards. The referee dove over the pile, set the ball to try to do anything they can to get the Cowboys another play, even though they didn't deserve it. After the game, the Dallas Cowboy fans pelted their officials coming off the field with trash. This hasn't been a huge national story. I'm really confused about that. If this happened in Philadelphia, it would be talked about for the next 15 years. We're still hearing about snowballs at Santa Claus in 1968. Dallas Cowboys start trashing officials for doing their job the right way, mind you. And Dak Prescott goes into a press conference and says, good for them. That was and agreed with the fact they threw trash on the officials for doing their job. It was your stupid fault for making the dumbass play. You guys were moving the ball down the field, and you ran a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left. Tried spotting the ball yourself, and then your fans threw trash at the officials because your team comes up lame in the playoffs every time they get in there. I got a statistic for you. Nick Foles has 4 career playoff wins. The Cowboys since 1997, 3. And for that reason, the Dallas Cowboy fans, the Dallas Cowboy faithful, Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and everyone in that whole fucking organization
on, you gotta be kidding me.
Anybody have a final thought? I know we're a little late.
I just got a quick one. My cousin Jordan, you know Jordan, obviously. Grandfather passed away this morning. So just condolences to Jordan and the entire family. Everybody's thinking about you guys.
Cottrell?
I got nothing.
I also have nothing this week. We have a lot of really big news coming next week. We're going to finalize a couple deals, so we're getting through that. Follow us on TikTok. Our videos we're growing at an astronomical rate. 14,000 views on one. Let's just keep it rolling.
Big numbers.
Thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate the guys in the booth letting us go 14 minutes late, so I apologize. But thank you guys so much for everything you guys do. Thank you guys for listening. And with that, show 67, we are Wire to Wire signing